Here we go. All right, everyone, welcome. First of all, the transcript is on, so if you need that, you can press the CC button, the closed captioning button, and you should be able to see that. I've enabled the chat, but I would say if you have questions during the webinar, please use the Q&A box because y'all have seen how fast the chat box can go on by us, so we don't want to miss your questions. We're here to talk about marketing. We had this scheduled last month and an emergency came up and we had to reschedule. But so for everybody who was expecting that last month, we're glad you came back this month for it. Lindsey Hartz it runs the company. Is your company Ignite or
Ignite Faith Media?
Ignite Faith Media is the full thing. I've shortened it to Ignite. Ignite Faith Media, and she has a background in corporate marketing and project management degrees, graduate degrees in business and project management, and has worked on marketing campaigns and book launches with hundreds of authors, speakers, consultants, publishers, and all of that. So she comes to us with a lot of experience. She was one of our speakers. She's been a speaker in numerous in the summit and other things before. So you may have seen her. So much knowledge on the book marketing process. So I'm really excited to have her here. She is also one of our sponsors for both the 2022 and 2023 summit. So thank you very much for supporting this process and this community. And I'm so grateful to have you here to teach us today.
I'm excited and thank all of you all for sticking with me through the emergency and coming to visit today. I'm really excited to teach you.
Hey, so I'm assuming you have a presentation, and if you want, we can just kick it right over to that. And then for questions, it's up to you if you want to stop along the way and answer some, or we can do them all at the end, which is your preference.
Yeah, so I have some questions built into the presentation. So there's instructions to kind of answer in the chat or to submit a question throughout the presentation. And then at the end, I do have time for open Q&A.
Wonderful. All right. Well, we will get to it then. You should be able to share your screen. And for those of you on Facebook, if you have questions, just pop them in there. I'll be heading over there periodically to see if there's any questions. And everyone else, let's get into this. Yay.
Okay, hold on just a second. Let me get all situated because I am not tech savvy. Hold on. That is not the presentation. Hold on a second. I promise it's here.
I love it when Zoom shares the wrong screen.
Okay. Hey, I'm a marketer, not a technology guru.
Exactly. All right, perfect. I see it. We're good.
Okay. So I'm going to make sure I can see a little bit of the chat. Ooh, I might not be able to do that. Okay, I'll try to take a look throughout. But again, my name is Lindsey Hartz. Thanks you for the wonderful introduction, Alexa. I'm so honored to be here. I am going to walk you through kind of the beginning of a course I have called Create Your Marketing Message. And as Alexa pointed out, I do have a lot of experience in marketing, project management, and sales. I ran a done-for-you book marketing agency for 10 years, from 2011 until 2021. And just through a variety of life circumstances and a really strong desire to connect with authors more one-on-one for the duration of their author marketing career, I shut down that agency, which was the Hartz Agency, and opened Ignite Faith Media. One of the divisions of Ignite Faith Media is Ignite Your Book Marketing, and that is the marketing mastery education arm of my company, where we train and equip authors to navigate marketing throughout the duration of their career. Basically, you're either in growing a platform, launching a book, or trying to find a way to monetize your message and earn an income. So we like to be present for that entire life cycle of marketing. And honestly, you go through it over and over and over again, right? So for the people that are listening, why don't you put a note in the chat just where you think you are right now, and then we'll get started. Okay, so for the agenda today, I've already introduced myself and Alexa has done so. I'm going to go through learning objectives, how to succeed today. Don't know why I put that twice. We're all human. And then the marketing messaging training. So the key with creating a marketing message is you really need to fix the marketing message you have once and for all. If you find yourself in a place where you're not attracting an audience for your book message, or you're not able to keep the audience you have, I would venture to say the problem is the marketing message that you're putting forth into the world. I firmly believe that every author is a great writer. I believe that you all hone your craft and do everything that you can online and offline to reach readers. But if you find your efforts falling flat, it's most likely because of two reasons. Number one, your marketing message may not be clear and concise. And number two, there's a surprising thing that might be holding you back that we'll talk about shortly. So this session is going to give you the keys to ramp up your messaging, generate more followers, and help your author platform grow. How does that sound to y'all? Great. And again, the learning objectives today, the surprising thing holding you back, understanding why you need a compelling marketing message. I'm going to define what a marketing message is, and then I'm going to give you the framework for the ideal marketing message for you to work on. And it's important to note that at the end of this presentation, I'm going to give you access to the rest of this course. So I mentioned that I'm kind of walking you through the beginning overview, but honestly, this is a 7-module course that's pretty extensive, right? So I'm just covering the very beginning introduction and module 1, and then I'll give you and Alexa a link on how to access the rest of it for free. So don't get discouraged. First of all, in succeeding today, we want to make sure that you're removing distractions. Make sure you have a pen or notebook handy to jot down notes. If you have any clarifying questions of anything that I'm presenting, make sure you write it down or use the Q&A feature to ask it so I can get to it later. And then honestly, any questions I present to you throughout the presentation, please take a moment to respond in the chat comments. I honestly want to see where you are. And it's important here to do so with honesty and without shame. I think that we all are in different stages of our author career. And so number one, I want you guys to see that you're not alone in whatever you're feeling. And number two, I want you to see that there's a path forward. And then finally, we'll have an open Q&A at the end where you can request feedback, ask specific questions, or share aha moments in the chat. So here is our first assignment. I want you to take a minute to think about what you want to get out of this session. When you saw this session come through and you saw the description of create a marketing message, what did you think you were going to be able to gain out of that? I have 4 spots here. You may only have 1 skill or 2 skills, but take a moment in your notebook, notepad, etc., and note what it is that you want to achieve today. And then if you're open, share it in the chat with us so that we can see. And while you're doing that, I'm going to read through the chat. Monetize, growing, that's awesome. Final draft. Wow, you guys are very talented. 400 journals and workbooks, Laura, that's amazing. Cassie asked, does this work for fiction too? Yes, to an extent. The frameworks work. The strategies or the thematic elements you'll need to pull from your book might be different. So that's actually a good question for me to pause and clarify. A lot of this is written for nonfiction authors, and then predominantly we work in our marketing program with Christian authors or anybody that has a transformational message to sell or to share that helps people move forward, you know, in health and healing and life and hope. And so when we work with fiction authors, what we really try to do is pull out thematic elements of what your characters are going through and help your readers relate to those thematic elements. instead of it being a nonfiction marketing message. I'm Lindsey and I help authors grow their platform, launch their book, monetize their message, right? That's a clear marketing message for me. Instead, Cassie, it might be an element of what you're writing about, especially if your books are related or tied together with any certain thematic element or endpoint that you would put into a marketing message. Yeah, Alexis answered this too. Okay, I can give you a few more minutes. And give me a second to read really fast. You guys are active. Reach specific readers, marketing campaign. Awesome. So hold that thought. Now that you're clear about what you want this to deliver, we're going to get started on the actual training. Give me a second. So the surprising thing that might hold you back from being able to move forward with this is actually an unhealthy marketing mindset. Honestly, marketing can feel overwhelming. It can feel extraordinarily difficult to navigate. And there's a lot of comparison out there. And frankly, we're dealing with a lot of things outside of our control, especially when it comes to social media algorithms and email lists. And I think just consumer fatigue about being online, not wanting massive emails in their inbox. And frankly, a lot of us have the attention span of a toddler, right, on social media and the internet. And so you're combating a lot of things that aren't in your control. But one of the things that is in your control is to remember first and foremost that you've been given a message to share, and it's your job to steward it well, right? And I find with almost all of the authors I've ever worked with, the first thing that we've had to deal with is the marketing mindset the author has. How many people in this conversation have said, I hate marketing, or I hate self-promotion, or I don't want to feel like I'm spamming my friends and my family? How about nobody cares what I have to say, right? My message isn't going to get seen. Facebook, Instagram, they won't let people see my message, right? How many people have started to grow an email list and put hours of effort and work into it to only have a couple of hundred subscribers, no matter what you do, right? How many of you have prepared for a book release and found yourself overwhelmed and exhausted? So overwhelmed and exhausted that you really don't want to talk about your book anymore. This precious thing you created, you're over it. How many of you have released the book and had kind of that moment of, gosh, that's over, now what? How do I keep going? Right. So from my perspective, what I often see is your ability to have perseverance through the marketing journey depends on how you think of yourself as it relates to influence. We all go through stages of discomfort and growth when it comes to influence. We have offline and online, and we all have it. If you really sat and thought about it for a moment, you could immediately think of one or two people in your real life that come to you for a particular reason. I have a neighbor who routinely meets with me because she somehow thinks I'm an expert in parenting since I managed to raise two adults without them dying or getting in massive trouble. I think it's amusing because I fumbled my way through, but she comes to me as someone she sees as a person of influence to have realistic conversations about how to navigate a strong-willed child because I had two of them and now she has a little one. That is a sphere of influence I have. So take a moment and think through in your personal life where you might have that kind of influence on people around you. Now, the second part of this is realizing that that influence extends online. The whole reason that we connect online and social media is to connect with friends and family, right? And then it's expanded into peers, and that's where it gets a little uncomfortable. And then it's expanded into trying to attract readers. So it becomes even more Uncomfortable, right? Who's uncomfortable with trying to network, build relationships, and sell anything online? Raise your hand. Right. You guys are not alone. And hopefully it will help you. I'm sure Alexa could say the same. This is something that I still struggle with, and I teach this for a living. It can be very, very uncomfortable. So what I want you to do is come to terms with your reach and impact, and the fact that no matter where you are, you will be able to stretch to the next level if you can navigate through these 4 stages, right? So in my own journey, back when I started my business years and years and years ago, I started in a very behind the scenes manner working with authors because I didn't want to be forward facing. To be honest, I didn't think I had any influence. I thought I just had a couple of skills that authors might find interesting. As I continued to navigate and serve those authors, I started to realize, gosh, they really depend on me, right? And because I was in an unhealthy mindset at the time, just in life in general, I was going through a lot. I started to think I wasn't worthy of that influence. And it honestly made me freeze sometimes. And sometimes I ran away from that influence. So if there's anybody in the room that has maybe started a project and given up midway, or procrastinated on a project, or created a whole marketing plan that you did not implement fully, it's probably because you were struggling with one of these first 3. So let me know in the chat if you've ever thought of any of these first 3 of yourself at any point. You can just put 1, 2, or 3, or all of them, because that's me. Yeah. A lot of you are putting number 1. That's actually really common of all of us. 1, 2, 3, 4, but it took me 7 decades to get there. I'm right there with you, Diana. Not quite that long. I'm in my 40s, so we'll say 4 decades. Perfect. And here's the thing. If you are finding yourself wanting to embrace your influence, embracing does not mean that you won't ever feel 1 through 3 again, right? I had a presentation last week that I did where, as I was preparing and getting all the information ready, it was to a brand new audience. And I thought, gosh, these people don't have any idea who I am. They've never connected with me. I'm going to stumble over my words. This is my new office, which is beautiful, but also really hot. I'm going to get all sweaty. I just started talking myself into fear, right? And so the key for embracing your influence is, number 1, recognizing you're going to feel these first 3 things as emotions. And the way you move through it is to shift your focus away from how you feel to what your audience is anticipating from you. So when I get nervous, or I get the butterflies in my stomach, or I'm hesitating to hit post, I stop and think of those feelings as not nervous energy, but anticipation of how I'm going to serve you all. And here are 2 things that have helped me well. This is not in the slide presentation, but I feel like some people need to hear this. I always think to myself, nobody in the room knows what I meant to say. So even if I fumble my words or I forget a key point, you all don't know any difference. It's just in my head, right? The second thing is I need to trust myself and trust my message. And so I do these presentations, and then sometimes we have these sideways conversations that turn out being exactly what many people in the room needed, right? And so I'm feeling like right now, this mindset and this influence is something that is really going to set the stage for your success going forward, which is why I'm spending so much time on this. So again, We all have those feelings, and the solution is shifting your focus away from how you're feeling to how you can serve your audience. Now, granted, I understand that when it feels like there's radio silence on the other end, you can start doubting your influence, right? It's a vicious circle. So what we're going to talk about next
Entrepreneurs can get stuck in their head.
What we're going to talk about next is how to
Well, the
move
first
forward
words,
in a way that will allow you to develop that marketing message and reach people in a more clear way. Sound good? So first of all, what are marketing messages? The simplest definition are they are messages that influence existing customers, audience members or readers, and potential or future audience customers. And what you really need to understand about this is you need to grab people's attention. So way back in the day, I used to say something like, I help authors launch books. And it fills a need, it's descriptive, right? But it doesn't really show the transformation possible through the work I do, right? It really doesn't answer the deeply felt needs. Launching the book isn't the only problem, right? Growing the platform, launching the book, and understanding how to earn an income as an author encompasses what most authors are feeling daily, right? So that is one of my marketing messages. Another one of my marketing messages is build your sales funnel, increase your audience, and make your book message impossible to ignore. If I just continue to tell people that I launch books for a living, can you see the disconnect between what I truly do and how I can help authors versus what you might think with the simpler marketing message that did not encompass all of what I did? Let me know in the chat. Okay. So why you need a compelling marketing message? First and foremost, it's to generate leads. You want to be able to keep people in your pipeline that you can speak with and that you can connect with. And the key here is about building relationships. I actually prefer to call this relationship marketing, right? So for me, I want to make sure that when I'm connecting with people online and off, I'm approaching them with a spirit of curiosity and a spirit of generosity. The first thing I did in this presentation was tell you what we're going to cover, tell you it was just a piece, and then give you the rest away. I'm not expecting anything of you, right? I truly and genuinely want to help. And the best way that I can show you how I can help you is to build my expert status. So by doing this webinar and this training, and by allowing you access to a more long-term training, you're going to be able to see in action how I can help you move through this activity, right? And then there's the other things, the things that we don't like, right? Announcing a product launch. You know, you want to promote your personal, I should say, brands. You want to launch a sales campaign for a book. Those are the things that are kind of uncomfortable, right? But if you're truly having a compelling message that attracts the exact right people to what you have to offer, helps build expert status in their mind, increases your visibility to other communities. One of the reasons I sponsor events like this is because people like Alexa have built incredible communities. And so I can increase my invisibility in front of you and the chance that you might have an opportunity or need for my services and my relationship with you in the future. And to attract supporters. Alexa and I have a relationship outside of Women in Publishing. So we can cheer each other on, we can share each other's work, and we can have a peer to connect with. So all of these things allow you the ability to move forward in your marketing in a more efficient manner and in a decreased stress manner. Because when you have a clear marketing message, you'll understand the exact people you need to connect with. You'll be able to plan accordingly, for products or services that you want to launch. And you'll be able to really identify the types of peers and potential partners that you should surround yourself with in order to achieve that goal. So here's the framework, right? These are the 5 things that need to be in place in order for you to have an ideal marketing message. First and foremost, explaining your core offering in a way that's easily understood and memorable. One of my other marketing messages is how to launch a best-selling book without losing your mind or soul. If I just said, I'm going to help you, again, launch a book, it would probably get lost in the shuffle, right? So I've made it easily understood and memorable by using keywords and phrases that really identify the pain points that you experience when you're launching a book. The next thing is we want to resonate with potential buyers and make them feel like you understand the problems they're facing. Again, that's kind of what I've been talking about this whole time, using myself as an example. You want to give them a clear idea about how you can solve their problem, how you are different, and what you stand for. And then you want to establish trust in your product or service so that people don't hesitate to buy and also refer you to others. And ultimately, the goal of all this is to attract and convert leads to lifelong customers. But I also believe, again, that it starts with building relationships. So for the people that are listening, how many of you can explain in a few words what your core offering is? Put it in the chat. What is it that you are offering people when they read your book? Okay, I'm watching the comments. I write fantasy escapism. That's exactly why I read fantasy. Okay. Okay, anybody else? Awesome. Okay, now how many of you that answered feel like the statement you made is easily understood and memorable? How many of you feel that there needs more work there? Right. Can always use more work. Okay, Elaine, I just happened to be looking at yours. It says, I enrich their lives with an expanded perspective on the past. Okay, so I'm going to actually ask you a question directly. This is Elaine Durback, and if you can answer in the comments. My question reading this is, why does my life need to be enriched? And how can you specifically help me do that? What makes you unique? And why do I need an expanded perspective on my past? We're going to workshop a marketing message. Again, why does my life need to be enriched? Why are you the person to help me do so? And why would I want an expanded perspective on my past? And I'm going to give you just an example of what I'm thinking as a consumer. I think my life is pretty rich right now. I don't know you, Elaine. Of course, we're in a chat room. So if I was looking at your website, it might be a little different. And the person I go to for an expanded perspective on my past is my therapist, right? And my past is pretty painful. I don't really, at this point in my life, after decades of therapy, want an expanded perspective on my past. I want to move forward in healing. So I'm just giving you an idea of what went on in my head as a potential lead. Yikes, good question. Okay, so here, I'll help you out. Okay, so for me, I might want to look for something with more specificity, right? I'll use again me as an example because it's the easiest thing for me to do without knowing much about what you do. My therapist marketing message would be, I am a trauma-informed therapist who helps women overcome abusive pasts in order to thrive in the future. Right? Can you see how that gives a little bit more clarity? Not only does it give her expertise, it shows her expert authority. It's targeted to women with a certain life experience, and it helps me move forward, not get stuck in the past. Okay. Is everybody understanding where I'm going with this? Okay. And for those of you that are asking questions in the chat, I'm going to try to go through this at the end, especially the fiction question that's showing up a lot. Can you give an example for fiction? Okay, let me do this now before I forget. Are any of you familiar with Mary DeMuth or Ted Decker or, gosh, Jodi Picoult? Okay, those are all fiction authors. Okay, Mary DeMuth, her marketing message is showing people healing from traumatic pasts through Jesus. Right? Ted Decker is a little, I don't know if I can come up with a marketing message for him. If for any of you who have read him, his books are interesting. I would say they're fantasy and allegorical in nature, showing the battle between light and dark, God and the devil. That's his marketing message. All of his books center around that theme and showing us the true heart of God without all of the layers that we put over it. Jodi Picoult. Jodi Picoult writes a lot of fiction that is centered around, honestly, just cultural hot topics. The first book I ever read from her was called My Sister's Keeper. And it was about a family who had 2 children. One, I believe, had cancer, and they had the second child in order to utilize that second child to benefit the first child's illness. So it was a very kind of a legal, ethical, moral triangle drama. Is this right or wrong? To have a child knowing that you're going to be harvesting, bone marrow and stuff like that from that child for the first child, right? So Jodi Picoult's marketing message is always to get us to look at really difficult topics and see both sides, right? So for all of you fiction authors, that's what I'm talking about. Do you have a core theme, a core message that you're trying to convey with your work? And that's how you create a marketing message. You start attracting leads, audience members who want help, who want a path forward in that specific message. Okay, I'm going to close the chat. How many of you feel like you resonate with potential buyers? This is different than just attracting an audience. Hey, I have a book out, How to Survive Raising Your Kids and How to Talk to Them Once They're Adults. Okay, that's a marketing message. Do you feel like your message is strong enough to get people to buy your book, not just celebrate it with you? And those of you who don't, why do you think that is? Is it because of the mindset that we mentioned earlier? Or is it because you don't have the right combination of words yet for your message? Entertainment in the legal world. working on it. Okay. Do you see how giving them a clear idea about how you can solve their problem, how you are different, and what you stand for can fix bullet point 2? Yes or no? Let me know in the chat. Raising hands. Okay. Perfect. And honestly, this framework is something that you don't just use for the marketing message for you as an author. I actually use this every time I write an email, every time I write a social media caption, every time I create a webinar or a presentation, right? It is a simple framework. And while the words obviously are something that you need support in, right? What you're putting together as you try to navigate through this framework. That's, again, why I'm putting you all in the course so we can work it out, right? But if you learn to follow this framework and, again, continuously work on the mindset of your words deserve to be heard, your words deserve to be seen, and they do matter. No matter what it feels like, no matter what it looks like, I do not believe that you were called to write this book for it to be sent off into some void, never to be seen. You know, as a Christian, I believe that words are powerful. I believe that they're a conduit to hurting people. And one thing that I often mention to people, that books saved me before the Bible ever did. So reading books, reading other people's stories, seeing their struggles and their triumphs through faith helped completely pivot my life in my 30s. You never know what your book is going to do for someone. So don't get overwhelmed by the logistics of marketing. Focus on why you do this, work on your mindset, and then follow simple frameworks and experts that can teach you how to move forward. All of these elements are going to help develop a lifetime supply of customers and relationships, right? Keep a regular supply of fresh leads. That sounds so markety, but it is. That's, leads that can potentially purchase your book or your service. And they're coming into your customer life cycle. And notice life cycle as a word that means we don't just sell to people, or we shouldn't. We engage with them. We build relationships. We listen. We respond. Out of these comments in these chats, there's probably about 4 different things I could create for you all based on some of these comments. I'm paying attention, right? And so once you figure out the marketing message and you get an audience, whether it's 50 people or whether it's 10,000 people, you'll be able to listen to what they need and respond, which keeps them in your life cycle. And again, doing it from a place of service and generosity. Sue says, this Christmas, I will solve all your gift challenges. If you can show me how to do it without having to buy everything from Amazon, then I'm sold. I avoid stores. Okay. So here are some action steps for you. Write down 3 ways your marketing would improve if you communicated this way. Customer-focused, aligned marketing messages. And then just jot down maybe 1 or 2 upcoming marketing activities you have planned. And if you'll do me a favor and share in the chat, I can address some of it in the Q&A. So again, as a thank you for listening to me, I'm going to give you access to modules 2 through 7 of the Create Your Marketing Message course. That's something I'm going to have to provide Alexa to add to the files. I couldn't get my QR codes to work. Again, tech challenges. You can connect with me at our website, igniteyourbbookmarketing.com. I'm also on Instagram at igniteyourbbookmarketing. And if you send me messages, I actually respond to them. I actually post on my own social media, create my own content, and respond to you. And just so you see what you're getting once you're in the course, this is the whole roadmap. Okay. So what we covered was an introduction and an overview of module 1. This is the rest of the course. So who is your ideal customer? What makes you different? Crafting the core message, including writing this content out and getting feedback. How to communicate the messages to different audiences with different books and different seasons. Some of our authors write nonfiction and fiction. That's a whole different thing. How to develop new marketing messages as you need them. I don't know if you all noticed, but I shared 3 different marketing messages with you. Does anybody want to guess in the chat why I have 3 different ones? Yeah. Oh, I like in case one doesn't catch our attention. That's actually not one, but that's a good one. It actually has to do with my own customer journey roadmap and who I'm speaking to. All 3 of them happen to be applicable to you all today, so I could give you examples, but each one of them basically leads to a different resource path and service path that we have to help authors. And they're all tied to the grow your platform, launch your book, monetize your message. Okay, so again, in the course, we'll craft the compelling marketing message, we'll tailor your messages, we'll customize them, and we'll consolidate and implement the learning so that you know how to do this in the future. So that's what we'll do in the course. And again, the access is something that I'll provide to Alexa to send on to you. I do have paid resources that I'll actually provide for Alexa as well. This is not a requirement, but I am offering a significant discount to these services for you all, where if you need a deeper dive beyond what the course offers, I'll spend a day with you helping to develop a growth strategy for you and your specific message or a tailored project plan. So it is time for Q&A. Alexa.
Would you like me to facilitate this? I wasn't sure. We don't have a lot of questions in the Farah just asked if there will be a replay. Yep, this is recorded and it's live on Facebook right now. So yep, there's definitely, and we'll send that out to everybody who registered. Libby said website designed to promote my brand. Okay, I'm not sure what that meant. Let's see, how much is the course? Kim wants to know.
Well, it's free for you all. It's normally $97 for the course.
Nice. So I'll make sure that we'll get that in the email replay that will go out to everybody who was registered. Awesome. I have 2 audiences for my book. One is a person who has gone through infertility, IVF, loss, and the other is a fertility clinics who I'm trying to encourage them to purchase my book at a good discount and give that to their patients. Are these would be 2 very different messages, correct?
Not necessarily. Well, okay, let me think through this. The message that you would target to get them to purchase would be different, right? So if you're trying to attract an audience who has been through this experience and you're trying to give them kind of your own journey of your own kind of hurting, healing, helping experiences, right? Then you would have a distinct audience trying to attract other men, women, couples who've experienced it or are experiencing it. So you would have a marketing message to attract them. And then if you're trying to get clinics or practitioners or caregivers or nurse resources to recommend the book, that would be a slightly different message. It would be centered around, are you a caregiver or a support person, right? For someone experiencing this, and here's a resource how to help. There's also a way to do it in a type of workshop setting. Some of my clients will actually do like short teaching sessions at counseling groups, and in hospitals when it's allowed. And then part of that fee is actually the bulk order of the books, right? So yes, the answer is you have 3 different audiences with just a slight tweak in the messaging to address what each audience needs.
This is something I actually have extensive knowledge in, since my first book was for this target audience as well. And Sheila, what I can tell you is that when you're going to the hospitals and groups, most of the time they don't have very much of a budget to purchase books of this nature, but they will gladly take donations. And often donating your book like this to the hospitals where they have them available to hand out can be just as effective of a marketing tool. I've had people that have reached back out to us in our organization months, days, years afterwards and saying how much they appreciated that book. They leave reviews, they tell other people about it, they hand it on. So that in itself can be a marketing tool. But to what Lindsey just said, I fully agree with that too. They often will have training programs where people can come in and talk about different things. So if you're able to go in, and I've been invited to go to some different events that they have on like palliative care and things like that. If you can get in and go to something like that, some of them may be paid or may not, but it's, you know, it's still a way to get your book in front of that audience.
And I'll add to one thing that we've seen success with is actually going through colleges. Or technical schools. So any place that's providing organized training for someone that might be a support person in that situation could be an ideal candidate for bulk orders.
And funeral homes, as hard as that is to say, like funeral directors like to have resources like this on hand as well, for obviously the ones who didn't survive. So okay. Barbara would like to know, what should be put out weekly on social media about your books already published and books coming?
Well, that's a question that requires a lot of research and content planning, but I will tell you generally, what I try to do is educate my authors to have content themes to rotate through, right? So a content theme might be, I want to provide a post of inspiration. When I do these posts, it's usually around marketing mindset and shifting perspective from an unhealthy mindset to a positive, or encouraging writers that they're not alone in the journey. I also have a humor one. I have a weird sense of humor and I really like writing memes. So I'll share funny writing memes, right? I have a content theme for sales and promotion for each thing I offer. And so for us, we actually have a schedule of how often we're going to promote something. And it just depends on the season, Barbara, right? For things that are coming out. So if I'm going to be promoting an offer, like we have one coming up in February for a big marketing mastery program, I'm already talking about it now, like 2 or 3 times a month. I'm not asking people to join. I'm just sharing the process of how we're creating it to get people's interest, and also to give them a behind the scenes of what's going to be included, right? But as you get closer and closer to an actual release or launch date, you should be sharing at least 2 times a week on each social profile that you own, what we call a sales call to action, which is, I have this book, please buy it. Not exactly in that language. Again, relationship marketing is really important, but you should continue to promote. I have what I call ministry business updates. And so in that bucket, I might put a webinar I'm speaking on, or a presentation I'm giving, or a reminder of a book I have in the past, right? That's coming up for a special celebration. So generally the answer is create content themes and rotate through them each week. And another content theme for me is actually just personal dorkiness. Like, it's literally what I call it. So, all the random things I think are funny, or what's going on in my life, I sprinkle all that throughout my content. because I'm a person, right? And I think you all are people. So I don't always try to just sell to you. I try to build relationship. So if you can come up with those content themes and kind of rotate through them on whatever social media platform you love, that will help you be consistent with sharing. It will help you be visible with what you have to offer. And it will also help you feel a little less like you're just constantly talking about asking people to buy something.
I think this is so fun. Zoom's new reactions. I'm seeing thumbs up and hearts, and that's new since the last webinar I ran, or first time people are using it. So that's fun. You got some love on that one. You got lots of love on that one.
Yeah, I saw a heart floating. I'm like, what is that?
What is that? I know.
Thank you.
Okay, Anna asked a question: to craft the ideal message, you first need to know who you're writing the book for, right?
You guys are asking me such layered questions.
Right.
Okay. I'm laughing because I started writing a book without knowing who I was writing it for. So sometimes when you're writing a book, who you're writing it for makes itself known through what you're writing. And sometimes you know up front. So sorry. But to craft the marketing message, then yeah, you need to have that figured out if you're more wanting to promote, sell, get them encouraged to buy. If you're not sure yet, I would just be open and honest with, I'm writing this story, I'm writing this book, and this week I'm writing on this theme, and ask people questions and get them to engage. And their answers might help you figure out who you're writing for.
That's a great idea. Melissa says, I've been able to reach readers for my current book, a memoir about Alaska, but how would I market to a new genre? I'm laughing because that's what I'm in right now.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. I haven't started another book because I'm not sure how to reach an audience with fiction story like Western romance, etc. Oh boy.
Yeah. Gosh, you guys, you're not making this easy on me. Okay, a memoir about Alaska. How would I market to a new genre?
No, she wants to write it. She's thinking about writing a new book
Right.
to a completely new genre.
Well, the first thing that I'd want to figure out is like, I know you're talking about a new genre, but are there going to be themes in your Western romance stories that kind of have elements of your life experience? Not necessarily about Alaska. I just mean about you as an author, right? Is there some sort of topic or topics that are important to you, or are you just writing them purely for the love of fiction writing and fun, right? So I feel like with fiction, and I'm also going to let Alexa maybe contribute to this one a little bit more, again, because we work primarily with nonfiction authors. But I feel like as a fiction reader, I'm an avid fiction reader. In fact, I read young adult end of the world novels all the time in my spare time, just because I have to read so much heavy stuff and fantasy and all that kind of stuff. But, I feel like fiction authors have to build worlds where nonfiction writers are actually often building staircases, like steps forward. So I guess my question to you would be, the memoir is more about you as the author. The other work sounds like it's more world building. So you might just have a main personal brand website. I'm Melissa Cook, author. I've written a memoir about Alaska, and also I have these great Western books, right? And then you could kind of build the marketing message for that side and for the memoir. Again, sometimes you need two marketing messages, right? You need different ones. So that's how I would approach that. Alexa, do you have anything to add?
So it's interesting because, like you said, with the layered question, like this is a really layered question. Like I can see how an audience that enjoys a memoir about Alaska would be interested in a Western or even romance. Like there could be that crossover audience. The real question comes to like romance, for example, has such just rabid readers is they're beyond voracious, they're rabid readers. And sometimes it can get confusing from a marketing standpoint If you're trying to sell your backlist and you're doing a lot of marketing for your new book, with the people who buy your new book be interested in the old one. So it's really a complex question to answer. For me, the reason that I decided when I branched into fiction, the reason that I decided to start over fresh with a pen name is because my books under Alexa Haddock Big Wharf and Alexa Big Wharf are on grief and loss, on parenting, on and on books for writers, right? So now that I'm into a fiction world, which is a completely different audience, while there may be some overlap, like I want to make sure that those two worlds are completely separate, so there's no confusion on the marketing side. But it's really, it's, you have to look at I can see, depending on what you're writing, Melissa, I can see how you could bring a lot of your audience with you and do what Lindsey just said with having your website that says, I write this and I write this. My marketing message would be way too confusing to have all of that stuff in one place. So,
well, I also started giggling because I'm like, well, could you write Western romance novels
set in Alaska? Right.
Why not?
Exactly.
And it's funny because my husband is like a fan of all those Live in Alaska shows. And I'm like, no, we are never doing that ever. I'm a little too busy for that. But like, he seriously watches like 5 different shows about Alaska and living in Alaska. So about as much as I'm willing to do is go visit.
Yeah. Right.
But my point is it is kind of an interesting market. So I don't know, maybe you could focus. I don't even know if Western applies to Alaska, but I often think of the frontier type living, right? The kind of do it yourself, build from scratch. So I don't know, maybe you could combine all of that if that's what you want to do.
Well, this has been amazing. It is after 4:00. So I'm going to wrap this up and just remind everybody that you're going to get access to the course. So I think some of these questions that are still in here may be very maybe answered within that program. And if not, you'll have Lindsey's contact information and you can certainly reach out to her for more information on those things. But this has been a great webinar, and we are just so grateful to you for sponsoring the Women in Publishing Summit and for helping us to be able to provide these free webinars and these wonderful resources to our audience.
Awesome. And one note about the course, I'll get the information over to Alexa. And when you join, we're actually going to have live Q&A for the lessons in October. So,
Wow.
So go through the lessons and do the associated homework, ask questions. There's like an activity feed. But we're going to have the opportunity for live Q&A in October for you all as well. Because
that's amazing. Thank you. Thank you
welcome.
on behalf of the entire community. That's really amazing. Okay, well, all right. We will be back Thursday with another webinar. We are packing them in. If you haven't had a chance, head over to the womeninpublishingsummit.com/events, where you can see all of our upcoming events. And on Thursday, we're talking keywords and categories, totally different, yet so important to your marketing and positioning of your book. And Lindsey, this was just awesome as usual. And give us 24 hours so we can get all the links and all the videos and all the things. And we will send out the email to everyone who registered for this, and it will be on YouTube as well. All right. Thanks. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye.